Hello and welcome. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We were just discussing New Zealand and Canada. I'm here now today with John Scanlon in this new episode of Mind Explorations, and we are going to talk about how trauma shapes mind, body, and identity. And trauma is a big, big word. So, first of all, John, I would like you to introduce yourself and just let us know who you are, where you're from, and what you are famous for, and then we'll discuss trauma in more detail. There you go.
Fine. Okay, cool. Um, my name is John Scanlon. I live in Ireland and I'm based out of Ireland. I'm based in County Wexford. I am probably most known for running the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference in the world of hypnotherapy. I'm also obviously a hypnotherapist. I specialize in trauma and trauma related stuff. And it would have started with early childhood and adoption type stuff and then moved into functional neurological disorder. It's all trauma based, but the focus to a large degree now has been how that affects people and how it changes who they are. So, and how to help to reset that. And that's where a lot of my work is when I'm working with people, no matter what it is. So whether it's trauma based or whether it's someone coming in going, I just want to be more confident. How do I go about doing that? But it's identity level change stuff that I go for all the time but I will go through all that as we go.
Yeah, wonderful. So you mentioned the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference, and that is coming up. We will be discussing that a bit more at the end. It's happening on the 24th to the 26th of April in Dublin. I just want to put that into your mind so that you buy a ticket later, and come and attend because I'll be there too. So you've told us what you work with. So according to your definition, what is trauma?
Um, Trauma is anything that we perceive negatively that we haven't processed emotion about.
Hmm. What could that be? Like, because most people who, when I talk to people who are not therapists, which is quite a few, they think trauma is the big stuff, the accident, the family that
Yeah.
has had things
Trauma, it
happening.
can be. Oh no, it can be.
Hmm.
And I mean, I come across that quite a lot with functional stuff where people go, I've had no trauma in my life, but yet the nervous system is receiving an unsafe signal. So trauma can be many things. I mean, I tend to use the analogy that someone else invented really of a pressure cooker.
Hmm.
But, our life is, if you like, we all have bits that go on. Stuff causes stress, causes tension. It's called living. We have to have it. But we have either big chunks in here or small chunks in here. And it can be multiple small things or it can be big, huge chunks. And it's only when it gets up to around here that we begin to feel that real stress and tension in our body somewhere. It's got to find a way out. So it finds a way out in terms of emotional behavior, as
Hmm.
in the way we behave, or it's got to find a way out physically. But if it's unprocessed, basically that's what trauma is. We've looked at something, we feel bad about how we perceive it, um, we made a meaning on that, and now we're holding on to it, and we view the world through it.
Hmm. Right. And
So that's
since,
my
yeah.
definition of trauma. Yeah, that's the way I view it.
Hmm. So you said lots of it can be the big stuff and can be the small stuff. So would that be the difference between, for example, PTSD and CPTSD? Is that?
It could be. Um, Because, yeah, I mean, what we normally regard as PTSD or post trauma is the bigger stuff that happened, the wars, the car crashes, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So you could do, I don't differentiate, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I just deal with it as trauma and I don't put the big labels on it. I just, because, and a lot of times, I mean, I've actually rephrased the way I've framed it. I just go, it's retained negative emotion
Mm, yeah.
because people
Well,
don't like the word trauma.
yeah.
And I therapists throw it around too much. It's
People
retained
don't
negative
like the
emotion.
word trauma. Okay, so right. So how do you call it in for clients?
Retained negative emotion.
Retain negative emotion. Okay.
Yeah.
And
No, I
that's
will use the word trauma, but many people, particularly with functional stuff, and that's where I feel it the most. But even that, it's also behavioral, but it manifests mainly for me with the functional stuff is that people go, I have no trauma in my life.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I'm
So
going, okay.
yeah, sorry. I mean, besides, you've mentioned that you work a lot in adoption because I know you were
Yes.
adopted. We also have an episode where you talked about that.
Yeah.
And you work with functional neurological disorder a lot. Is that mainly what people come to you for? Or are there more things that they would come to you for? Or do they come to you for trauma? You don't like to call it trauma, but do they come to you and
Well,
say,
no,
I
I don't
have
mind
trauma?
calling it trauma. It's just that a lot of people get put off with that term.
Hmm.
A lot of people get put off because
Why is that?
they view trauma as the car crash, they view it as the medical emergency they had to go through, they view it as the physical violence that took place or the war that they, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's the way they see it. So as part of what we do and as part of the way I work, it's about helping them to understand it and break it down. So if that
Mm.
trauma is a big word that now suddenly means, oh, I'm not listening to him because he's using a word that I don't like and I don't
Yeah.
have in my life, it's up to me that, that's part of the rapport building. When I work with anyone with trauma, what I create for them is a container of safety.
Hmm.
So
Right.
everything happens within that container.
Mm.
Because ultimately, when you're working with trauma, people have got to feel safe.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate objective before any reset can take place.
Mm.
So that's kind of why I use different words and different language. Um,
What?
and it's literally just practiced because that's what I found was that a lot of people were coming into me going, they didn't like the word trauma. I don't
Mm.
have any trauma. I'm going, okay.
Yeah. Right. But for those people who would refer to it as trauma, I'm just thinking in what the way of language, would that make it more because negative emotional retained negative emotion, would that make it easier to digest? Because we do need to, we were discussing solution focused therapy earlier, but that makes it easier to work with, doesn't it? If there's lots of little stuff and not this big mountain of trauma that you would perceive as a client potentially as this big thing.
Sometimes
Hmm.
the way that I tend to work with clients, and I know you're smiling at me now as I say that because but the way that I tend to work with clients is I want them to get one key message. And it depends on what I'm working with, right?
Hmm.
But the key message is that, well, we're recording this on the 11th of February, 2026. Every single thing before this moment in time is over. You cannot
Mm.
go back to it, even if you try.
Yeah.
And your logical part of your brain knows that. And it lives from that. It makes perfect sense. The emotional part of the brain does not. It keeps running all loops from times past. So what I'm ultimately doing with anyone who has a trauma background or has come to me with any kind of trauma is I'm getting them to be in the present.
Hmm.
Now I'm using a whole load of tools and I'm using that as a reset, basically.
Yeah.
But what I am doing is I'm bringing them back to the present first and foremost. Because, and I tell really silly stories, like really silly stories, but they're all designed for a purpose. Like everything's perception. Everything is how we look at the world. It's the meaning we give it. So, like I tell a stupid story about being a Man United fan and my friend is a Liverpool fan. And Liverpool won 7-0 and we watched the game together. You got two very different responses, and I can see smiling faces feeling sorry for me straight away. But we both saw the same game. It's
Yeah.
the filter we look at it through the world with. Now, that's not going to shape anyone's change in trauma, but it's going to give them, oh, I can look at things differently.
Hmm.
You're explaining a concept to them through something,
Yeah.
through a story, through metaphor. That's all I'm doing. Um, like I also go tell them things like I tell a big long highfalutin story about how I bought this house in the middle of the countryside, which was accommodated by rats and mice before I bought it because it was vacant for 2 years. And I cleared it up eventually, but after a big long rigmarole. And then one night I'm sitting at home and there was a huge noise under the floor. And I was like, oh my God, what's that? Here we go. I'm back again.
Hmm.
And then when I put down the trap, there was a field mouse in it. And I'm going, why is there a feeling this? Why is he making all that noise? And then you realize that the space between the beams is only a couple of inches wide, and the space from the floor to the concrete is only about an inch deep. Something small in a small space makes a lot of noise. It's like the stuff we have going on in here,
Mm.
right? And all I'm doing is I'm helping people to reframe it. And I think I learned this one from Freddie Jackman, but it's how do they catch monkeys in the South Pacific? And if
The
you know
monkeys.
that one, most
Oh,
people
yeah.
look at me and go, "What? No, I don't. I don't know how to do that." And then you explain that, when you just let it go, it starts to make sense to them. So that's
Mm.
before I even do any hypnotherapy, even though,
Yeah.
I'm already doing stuff with them at that point in time. Once they get those four concepts, it doesn't matter whether it's big or small.
Mm.
Like everything I do is content free to a large degree, unless there's anything specific that needs to be reviewed and looked over and over. But even with all the medical related stuff, the FND, and a big part of that would be people's medical traumas going through the medical system, actually,
Yeah.
because they get no support and they go to the medics for support. These are the experts, and there's nothing. They're just told, well, there's nothing wrong with you. Change the way you think. They're
Yep.
not even told that, actually, to be fair. Or if they are, they're told to go see a psychotherapist. And unfortunately, that's probably not the best approach.
Mm. Right. So why do you do the work you do? And I mean, you've already explained quite a lot about it, but
Yeah, I suppose
in a nutshell.
in a nutshell, I mean the adoption focus work. I'm adopted myself.
Hmm.
I lived with that feeling of not being good enough, of multiple other feelings, of excluded, of kind of not knowing who I was, and maybe that's why identity becomes important for me too, actually. But that led to the functional work.
Yeah.
But I suppose they're all trauma based, all of them.
Yeah.
One is early childhood. It's different. It's emotional rather than physical. I mean, I literally came across the functional stuff by accident, pure and simple.
Okay.
It was somebody came to me, or I was asked to go see somebody for a friend actually and she had social anxiety. But what I didn't realize at the time is that she had 4 or 5 non-epileptic seizures every single day.
Right.
Um, which was she couldn't drive. Her life was turned inside out and upside down. And I started to do hypnotherapy with her. She had a seizure the very first time. And when you're not used to that, that was kind of like, all right, what do I do now? You know, but we talked about it in advance. What was the plan? What was the outline? And then she stopped having seizures. I think they were all gone by the third session or something. That was
Wow.
dealing. So then she started to talk about it, and other people started to come to me, and it just gathered a roller coaster. Um, and I think we have a set of tools that allows us to um, help people process stuff and sort stuff out much easier than most
Mm.
others. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I did something on TikTok not so long ago about, and God forgive me, now I'll be killed for saying this. But why is it that psychotherapy gives therapy a bad name? Well, when you're trying to logic your way into emotion, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And a lot of people go to counseling to deal with emotional issues. Half the time they don't know what that causes themselves. So it's painful for someone to have to go back and try and process emotion. There's all the frustration, there's everything that's included in that. And we have a set of tools that allows people, because there's so many people living with that these days. I mean, I call my practice empowered hypnotherapy. Why? The object is to empower people. Look, we even have visitors.
Sorry.
The object is to empower people. So that's ultimately what I want to do, is empower people.
Mm.
Yeah, it tends to be that a lot of trauma-based stuff comes through me, and that's okay. Um, I have the set of tools to deal with it.
Right. So you were talking about the nervous system being
Yes.
a
What was the actual word I used?
we
A
spoke
memory
about
bank.
this. Yeah, a memory bank. Yeah, that's right. I thought you were going to tell us. Yeah. So why is the nervous system a memory bank? Explain that.
Explain it. Okay. The nervous system learns through things that happen. And the more we repeat something, the more it becomes familiar with it. So when a signal comes down, it has to learn how to deal with it. And if it's familiar with it from one pattern, from either, I suppose you could look at it like it's a large explosion that takes place, i.e., a big trauma that happens,
Hmm.
or it's a whole multitude of small things that happen, a lot of stress over a continuous period of time. I mean, you think I'm not that familiar with the narcissistic stuff, but if the constant negative probing and stuff on people will over time, I can only imagine just hammer their nervous system. It'll become that sense of that becomes normal. And that's
Yeah.
what the nervous system looks at.
Yeah.
And that's what it judges its safety on.
Mm.
So basically, dealing with the nervous system. Now, we have a whole load of tools that we can use to help the nervous system. The challenge is also it's more than just the nervous system on its own, because it's the thoughts that come down that have to be interpreted
Through the nervous system, by the nervous
through the
system.
nervous system. Yeah. Basically, I tend to, and I know now it's a fairly simplistic, but because if you look at a diagram of the nervous system, it's a big complicated yoke, right, with many different systems within
Yeah.
it. But when we're dealing with trauma, you basically have two branches of the nervous system. So it's the autonomic nervous system first and foremost, and within that you have two branches. You've got the sympathetic nervous system, which is your stress, fight, or flight response, and you've got your rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system.
Mm.
All right. I tend to see it very simply, and I know it's very simplistic, but clients get it. They explain it, or it helps to explain it to them. I help. The way I explain it to them is, look, you have your amygdala, which is your security system, which is judging whether a thought is good or bad or indifferent, right? In simplistic terms. And
Mm.
it's sending a signal down a river, which is then branching into two. So if it's marked as safe, it's going down a gentle, free flowing river that everything is nice, it's wide, it's deep, it's calm, it's lovely. But if it's marked as unsafe, then it's going down the sympathetic system, the
Mm.
sympathetic stream. And when people have functional symptoms in particular, that stream floods. The messages don't get where they're supposed to go. So they have seizures, they have all kinds of things. So you can help the nervous system, and I see a lot of this, tools to help reset your nervous system. And they will help the nervous system to feel safe in the moment. It's a bit like dealing with the effect of it, but not dealing with the cause of it.
Yeah.
You still have to, that's why hypnotherapy is so powerful, because you have to deal with the thoughts that go behind it. I mean, neuroplasticity will teach us that if what trauma is unfiled emotion almost, or unprocessed emotion.
Retained
Sometimes, and I
negative
even,
emotion.
pardon me, retain
Retained
negative
negative
emotion. Yeah,
emotion.
yeah.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, like I'll take clients through an exercise where, let's say there was a particular instance that they hadn't filed. There was one instant, right, just for argument's sake. It's
Mm.
like there's a filing cabinet there, there's a file on the floor, it's very big. I want you to tidy up that file, take what you need from it and get rid of the rest, file it away. And basically, in essence, what are you doing? You're helping them to file that memory so it's not an
Mm.
emotional response anymore.
So that's
And
in during a session during
yeah,
trance. Hmm.
yeah,
Okay. What are the other ways you would deal with trauma, with a client's trauma? Do you have some hints for us? Because of course the audience is mainly hypnotherapists and NLP
yeah,
practitioners, so we're probably very curious on
yeah,
what
no,
you
it's
usually
okay.
do.
Um, I deal with it in, so I use a lot of, what's the word? Content-free hypnotherapy,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So I use, I mean, I trained in kinetic shift, I train in
Yeah.
it. So I'll use an emotional detox quite a bit, obviously.
Hmm.
I also use the
Yeah.
arrow, that's also very effective.
Mm.
Um, I get my clients to have a pressure cooker in their mind that they empty every time they come to see me.
Right.
So They empty it, they clean it thoroughly, they plug it in and they turn it on. And the instruction is that every night as they sleep, that the pressure cooker automatically empties and that they have a great sleep.
Hmm.
Right. So it's a very simple tool, but what it does is
Yeah.
it allows them um, to process emotion at night and not hold on to it, because that's the issue. Life's
Yeah.
going to throw us curveballs all the time. That doesn't, there's nothing about that, but it's how we process it, how we deal with it that matters.
Mm.
The other thing then that I use, so one of the tools that I like quite a lot is I use a computer almost for parts, right?
Right.
So I use a computer programmer, which is their unconscious mind because it looks and acts like them,
Mm.
that has access to every file they ever have, delete it, empty the recycle bin, and download the latest programs. And I use those kind of on a continuous cycling basis. I will use regression, but I don't use it a lot.
Right.
I often prefer a process that I call unfinished business, which is that I bring them to normally people and I provide a really safe space for them to do that. But where they get to say everything they need to say to that person about how they
Right.
made them feel.
So it's
They
similar to
get to kick,
regression then.
scream.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
But
similar, but it's not in one way, and I'll explain
you're
why.
not going back into the
And
situation.
you're not taking them back to the
Yeah.
situation because they're dealing with the person. And that person might have caused multiple situations in their life. And if they are able to express what they need to say in a very safe space where they can kick, scream, roar, shout, I keep saying you can machete for all I care. And I'm not
Yeah.
proposing violence, but it's about them letting go of emotion, nothing else.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
They're also empowered in that moment because they're the ones saying what they needed to say. They're not looking at it as a victim. They're not looking at it as an observer. They're
Yeah.
actually empowered.
Mm.
So that takes any emotion about one particular person. And you could have 20 regression causes that you might have to go back to look at to deal with that.
Yeah. Mm.
Why?
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking for ways to make it easier for people to process so that they don't have to go back reliving old crap.
Mm. So that's the
Because I had to do it and I
disadvantage
don't
with
want other
talk
people
therapy
to
as
have
well,
to do
isn't it?
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the disadvantage with talk therapy as well, isn't it? Where you have to re-chew the old subjects again and again, the old
Correct.
situations. So that's
Correct. Yeah. Correct. And the other thing, the last thing that I always do, and I don't know if anyone else does this, but it is an inner child journey, but it's a really deep inner child journey.
Mhm. Tell us.
And it's designed to live that message of everything before today is over. So basically, and the reason that it's important is that if you think about anybody who, the before we're born, when we're just about to enter the womb,
Yeah.
like if you think of a child, what are we? We're confident. We don't care if we're hungry, who's around there, who's going to be upset if we scream. We're just going to scream. We're hungry. We don't
Mm.
care what we look like if we want to go out. We don't care if our clothes are dirty or our hair is a mess. We don't care. We're confident. We're
Yeah.
also extremely resilient because, you know, barring the odd exception, everybody can walk, but you weren't born learning to walk and you fell hundreds of times and you get back up.
Mm.
We've also lived loads of positive moments in our life. So my inner child journey allows them to go back to connect with the essence of who's about to become them, who's unlimited potential in every single way, and then bring them through the womb. And this is the early childhood adoption stuff. I fill that space with the energy of unconditional love, which is a cushion for any emotions that might be coming in or anything they might have had to experience. And because ultimately, when you're dealing with early childhood trauma, you're dealing with people who don't feel good enough in some way or didn't feel loved, particularly in
Yeah.
adoption.
Mm.
So you're just filling that space with love so they're always loved. Then you're walking through that journey of life with them back to this moment in time. So at that point, they then know that everything before today is over. Everything I've told them at the very first session is now fact.
Mm.
Everything before today is over. They've had loads of positive experiences. I get them to high five and celebrate each and every one of those. and to be with them, to let them know that all the negative stuff is over.
Right.
And then we start to visualize a very wide, bright, generic, not generic, but general future, so that they can start to look at the road ahead of them being wide and bright with blue skies and a nice horizon off and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That brings them back to this moment in time. It's a reset. That's what I call the emotional reset.
Yeah.
And that becomes the mechanism for them to be completely safe in the present.
Right.
And the next stage then is the identity work that happens after that.
The next stage. Okay, I was going to ask, do you have a set amount of sessions that you use when you work with a client, or
I'm
a
going to
minimum
tell you it's
amount?
normally 4 is the way I normally do it.
Four. Mm-hmm.
But it does depend on the amount of negative emotion that has to be processed.
Right. So would you be
That
doing
one,
these? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
that one that I just described to you, for me, is normally the third session in a typical type. If somebody has no real worries or concerns or doesn't have anything major, sometimes
Mhm.
I'll get there in the second session and it's fine. Um, the But if they've got a lot, sometimes it can take 2 or 3 to clear the old stuff. Because I want that to be a happy uh, journey for them.
Positive. Yeah,
So
this
they actually
session.
know
Yeah.
exactly where they are. Yeah.
Hmm.
So they know exactly that they're safe. All
Yeah.
that stuff that they've had to go through is finished. And they've had loads of positive things and they're bringing all that stuff with them.
Right. No, that sounds really good. We also were going to discuss how trauma shapes identity. So we get a lot of stuff into our nervous system. We store a lot of memories, positive and negative. So how
Yeah.
does trauma shape the identity as opposed to standard experiences, neutral experiences?
Um, well, if you trauma shapes who people are. So whether are if we've lived, say, a life where we've had to be a quiet child, where you're seen and not heard, or whatever that expression is, you learn not to talk up.
Mm,
You learn to stay quiet,
yeah.
right? If why is it that, say, if you look, and I know it's in a lot of countries, like, why is it that there seems to be almost a political dynasty? Why kids grow up in a political environment? They're used to it. Kids, if we grow up in the environment of which our parents are working and it seems like it's happy and they're used to it, then it becomes easily familiar for us. So we're drawn that way. It's wired into our nervous system effectively. It
Mm,
becomes a safe feeling for us to do.
yeah.
If we've lived in a lot of violence as a child, then yeah, that's shaped us, and that's what we expect. That feels safe. That kind of energy feels safe. Why is it
Yeah.
people get into abusive relationships? You've got to kind of break that cycle. So, and likewise, the reverse happens. If you live in a life of success and joy and laughter, that's what you just assume. Anything is possible. You grow
Yeah.
up with confident people all around you. Um, that becomes your normal. So the life that we live, the logical levels of the world tells us identity, or sorry, the environment that we're in creates the behaviors that we do.
Mhm.
If you live in a trauma-based environment, you're going to have one set of behaviors. If you live in a different type of environment, you'll have a different set of behaviors. And the more we do those behaviors, they become the beliefs that we are,
Mhm. Would you
the
would you
beliefs that
s-
we hold.
yeah, would you say that negative emotion, trauma, has a stronger impact on us than happy, positive experiences
Yes.
and emotions?
In
Hmm.
general, yes, because we're prone towards safety.
Yeah.
We
So
have a safety
how,
bias.
yeah, yeah. So how, what do I want to ask? So how many positive experiences or how many,
I
hmm,
think you could
how-
guess that. I've heard the figure 7. I know the question. Now,
I
to
don't
have the
even know the
same effect as
question.
one negative,
Right,
everything depends on the size and the emotion attached to each one.
right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, so many people come in and they've this constant stress, they're just under deadline, under pressure, da 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 da, and they see that as a stress. And I'll talk to people who go pressures for tires, this is just a challenge and I love doing it.
Mm,
We're looking at things differently, that's all. It's
yeah.
the perception of it. You can't, everybody is, everybody's experiences are different. And as a consequence of that, people will see the world differently from that space.
Mm,
But like I did, think about something like lotto winners. And we've heard a lot of them who just didn't happen to retain the winnings that
yeah.
they had.
Mm,
It's not that money's bad for them, it's just that it's not familiar.
yeah.
So they don't know how to keep it and they spend it. And often, they can't go down back to their old lifestyle that they were really familiar with, going to the pub every night or every once a week, without being, maybe they got asked to buy pints every time and their whole environment felt very different. Or there's the guy who won the lotto,
Yeah.
and he's treated differently. So they unconsciously get rid of it. We
Mm,
self-sabotage a lot based on the fact that our values and our beliefs are different to the environment that we're in.
yeah. Yeah.
So
That's true.
when we're working, and that's identity, trauma does change us. I mean, if you have somebody who has, even been through a lot of traumatic experiences, and, they used to be an outgoing person, now suddenly they're going to find that they value
Mm,
safety and peace more than anything else. So it's going to change how they interact with the world in so many different ways. And because of that, when we try and change a behavior, but we don't deal with the higher up, the belief that goes behind it, or the value or the identity,
mm,
then you may get short-term benefit, but you won't get long-term benefit.
yeah. How do you work with people? Or, there are people who define themselves via this trauma. They
Yes.
either get anxiety or depression or both. How do you approach that?
And through I use a model that I call Lighthouse, which is based
Mhm.
on logical levels. And it's designed to target all five aspects of um, the trauma.
Mhm.
So it deals with the environment that they were in, it deals with the behaviors that they had as a result of the trauma, the beliefs that came from it, the values that they associate with it. What does it, which is really what you're saying. It's
Mm,
giving me something.
yeah, yeah. And okay, do you do that in as a pre-frame or pre-talk or coaching, or is that
No,
within
I
a
tend to
session
deal
with a
with
therapist?
that as I tend to deal with that in pretty much the last session that I do with people.
Hmm. Oh, that's the lighthouse.
So
You did tell us about that before, didn't you? I think you
did
did.
I?
In a different, yeah, yeah, you've been on several times. So I think you did tell us about that.
Okay,
Yeah. However, so
don't
that's the
remember.
last session. Yeah, it just came back to
Yeah,
me.
that's and that tends to reshape the identity because it's based on what they had done previously with what I call my little star exercise. They reconnect back into that after they've cleared all the stuff, so
Mm,
then they can reset it because we often arrive at who we are by default, all of
yeah,
us, whether
yeah.
it's trauma based or not. Actually, we arrive at who we are by default. The environment we're in creates all those levels that we ultimately become.
Mm,
Um, and we don't have to choose to stay there. We can
yeah.
choose to change.
So
And
that's the
that's pretty
empowerment. Yeah.
much, yeah. So I use
Mm,
hypnosis as the tool to allow us to change.
right. Um, I have, okay, how trauma shapes identity. Yeah. Self-sabotage and how it evolves. I mean, you've touched on self-sabotage already with
Yeah.
the lottery winner, etc., etc. Is there more to that, to the self-sabotage part?
I tend to view the world very simply. People will go down rabbit holes. I don't. I tend to view self-sabotage as somebody, as the nervous system feels unsafe
Mm,
with this new behavior, this new environment. So it decides to get rid of it. The value, it's a bit like you were describing earlier of, the person who goes off into depression or,
anxiety. Yeah.
plays the victim because of the trauma. Um, those chains higher up haven't been dealt with. That's all. Once you can learn to change the fact that they can identify as someone who, in the case of, say, a lottery winner, is comfortable with money and can use it for their own good and the good of everyone else, or whatever way they want to use it,
Mm.
then they'll keep it. The person who has the trauma, maybe they can reframe that into something like, I can help others with trauma. I'm no longer a victim. You know,
Yeah.
they can change the value that they associate with it.
Mm.
And ultimately, that's what I view self-sabotage as there's an internal conflict, and the reason against it is deeper.
How do you
It's
work with
deeper
that?
up
Can
that
it be
logical
above?
levels.
Could it be above identity level, in your opinion?
Well, the only one above identity level is purpose.
Hmm. So if you don't have a purpose, or you need a purpose.
Well, once you change that identity, you can decide your purpose.
Hmm. Yeah, no,
But
I'm asking because I've had clients. Well, I don't know what I want to do with my life, or the reason for that trauma. Because I work mainly with tinnitus, as you know,
mhm,
and the tinnitus starts because, for example, the grandchildren or the children move away, and they've always taken care of them, or the husband has passed away, and their purpose is gone, and they can't think of a new purpose, for example. So that's what I'm referring here to, and that's
you,
really hard to find a new purpose, especially when people are already, well, older than pension age, etc., because they can't even use work as their purpose anymore. Do you know what I mean?
I understand. Yeah. But if you think about identity as your I am statement, and it's not even a belief anymore. It's a knowing. It's at your core level. You know that that statement is true for you.
Mm,
Then all you got to do is define that statement and then work down, get the
mm,
values around it, get the beliefs around it, get the behaviors. And some of those will change over time, because the other thing about trauma is that when you're in that traumatic state, or when you're living in that, tunnel almost,
hmm.
you can't see too much beyond it. So even if
Yeah.
you free up all the trauma, you still don't know all the experiences that exist outside of that.
Mm,
But once you can bring someone to an identity level of confidence, or calm, or love, joy, happiness, or health, or whatever it is, or all of them actually, then their horizon becomes wider. So the environment and behaviors will change over time,
hmm.
but the values and
Yeah.
beliefs will probably still hold, and the
Right.
identity holds.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that the end of that the environment can't change. It will, because as people's horizons expand, they'll want to put more things in, more people, more places, more events, more things. Um, and behaviors will probably go with that. If someone wants to be healthy, they never were healthy before in their life, they might suddenly find, it's going to the gym or going walking, or, whatever it
Mm,
is suddenly now in their picture. But
yeah.
they have to, for that to be a permanent fix, they have to believe at the higher level that they're healthy, and that health is a value that they hold on to, because it's important to them to give them a long life, or to get the most out of life, or whatever it may be.
Mm,
Everybody chooses differently.
right. Guys, I've forgotten to say, if you have any questions, put them into the chat or ask them, because
Ask.
I'll ask John. Yeah,
This
because
is a chat. You're all
we've
part of
gone
it.
through our structure. Oh my God, we've almost through. So, if you've got anything you want to ask, and anybody watching the replay, put stuff into the comments on YouTube. Yeah, put a comment, put a question to the comment. I see them. And now we've got to talk about, unless you would like to, great conversation. Thank you.
One last thing that I want to say, actually,
Yes.
because you asked me earlier and I did forget. So, because I spend a lot of time working with the nervous system, so when you're asking me tools and techniques and stuff, right? Um, one of the things that I do is not only release, because it's not just about that.
Hmm.
It's also about getting people familiar with the new feeling.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in any session, they will not only empty stuff 3 or 4 times, they'll fill up with something they want 3 or 4 times. And I
Mm.
often use that as the mechanism to push out the other
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
because you're creating nervous system safety in that feeling. It
Yes.
can't become safe to adopt a new behavior if it doesn't know what it feels like.
Exactly. No, that's what I do.
And
That's
it's a safe
actually,
place to do it.
Since you mention it, that's my subject for the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference, future visioning.
There you go.
And we were going to plug that shamelessly. I've got a Guinness glass here with water in,
You missed
but
the G.
I missed the G
You
indeed.
didn't split it. You've gone too far, even
If
if
you would
it's
like
only
to know
water.
what splitting the G means, you need to come to Dublin and go out drinking with John and several other people, including myself. Um, but first of all, now let's finish the plug for the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference. So my theme is going to be future visioning for better health outcomes, I believe. I can't remember what I called it. However, I'm going to talk exactly about that concept of the nervous system needs to learn that the future is safe, and you make your future your present in the sessions so that you can move forward with confidence and a new identity very often and purpose, because that's why I was asking about purpose. I work with purpose as well. Okay, we have questions here. Irish Hypnotherapy Conference, 24th to the 26th of April. I'm going to put a link to get tickets and to get more information into the comments as well, into the show notes. And then if you would like to come and join us, you can do so and just check out who's speaking, etc. Or maybe for next year as well. Adele would like to know, do you do any movement, somatic, or breathing in your work, John?
I teach them, yeah. So very simple things like one of my favorites actually, and I love it, and I send them all a video or an audio of it, is the HeartMath. It's only meditation, if you want to call it that. It's literally 3-4 minutes. And I kind of get them to do that every day, if
So you
possible.
breathe through your
And
heart, correct?
yeah, it's appreciating. So basically, your
Mm.
heart communicates with your brain 4 times more than your brain communicates with your heart. And when you do an EEG and an ECG, you get these squiggly lines, which most of the time are not the same. They're different. But when we're in a state of appreciation, they mirror each other. And that's a flow state. So the heart math people have proven that, and I can't remember the exact figures on the scale now, but there's a scale. So they have what they call heart brain coherence,
Hmm.
right? So if you're, let's say it's 30, between 30% and 70%, then physically you're fine and emotionally you're fine. And then you go out one side, you'll physically be off. You go out the other side, emotionally you'll be off because emotions got to get out one shape or form. Um, and that's a very simple technique. The other one I love is 7-11 breath work, and I'll teach them all how to do that.
11.
Because,
Would you explain
yeah,
that?
so it's in, pardon?
Would you explain that, please?
Yeah, 7-11 is you breathe in for 7 and you breathe out for 11.
Right.
And you do it about 5 or 6 times. Now, what does that do? And I literally tell them this. When we're stressed, we only breathe pretty much to our chest, right?
Mm.
We shallow breath, energy flows to our arms and legs. When we breathe into our stomach, after 2 or 3 goes, the mind goes, oh, I'm not supposed to be able to do this.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not real. And the other thing then is that when you exhale longer than you inhale, you move from stress to relaxation system. Your nervous system settles on the relaxation system when you exhale longer.
Mm.
Again, it all helps. So I teach them that. Even things like, and I'll do this with them, put your shoulders back, head up, and smile. Try and think of something bad.
Or look
And
up
then
and
do the opposite.
yeah.
Drop your shoulders, frown, and think of something bad. And give me a score out of 10 on both. And they're going to find, oh, it's nowhere near as bad when my. So our physiology can change our psychology, basically.
Hmm.
I have Adele. I put this thing on YouTube. It's about 8 different things, and I send it to them. So it's a kind of a what I call anxiety type toolkit.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of nervous system work in that. So I do give them all that. Yeah.
Hmm. And I believe this question is related to the heart math meditation. Would that be similar to practicing loving kindness?
It kind of, yes. Yeah, and for me, it's a long time since I've done the love and kindness one. Yeah, but yeah, I think it sounds about similar. That's
Mhm.
about an hour long one, though. That was a very long one.
Sorry, can I just ask, is it heart map or heart math? I'm not
The
Math.
Americans always drop the S.
heart
Oh,
math.
maths. Oh, is that why?
M
Yeah,
M
math,
A
like
Yeah.
calculating stuff.
I
is
think
it
it's heartmath.org.
okay? But so MATH math.
Yeah, but I'll
Yeah,
Yeah,
share a video with Astrid and you can share it away to your heart's content. It's five
yeah,
minutes. It is that.
yeah.
perfect. Thank
Send it to
you.
me. I'll put it into the show notes as well. Katie wants
I'm
to
going to
know
WhatsApp it to you because that's too complicated. It's on my phone.
whatever you want to do. Oh, you don't. Oh, it's not on YouTube or anywhere, is it?
It probably is. I can't remember.
Okay, let me know later.
All right,
Um,
I'll figure it out.
Also, yeah, exactly. So Katie would like to know, great discussion, thank you. Thank you too. Regarding future pacing and familiarity with the new identity, do you conduct subsequent sessions to anchor in a sense of comfort with their new purpose and identity?
Yes is the answer to that. I'll normally do one, but not. I normally work with somebody over once a week for 4 weeks. Pretty much that's kind of the routine. And then I leave it for a couple of weeks to let that settle in. Now I do give them an audio to listen to as well, so they always have it. Um, so they're also most of them will use that at sleep time. So I give it to them as they can use it when they're going to bed. So it kind of wires all that stuff in anyway. But yes, um, there's nothing better than when someone comes back after a month and just goes, "Wow, they're
Mm,
living the change."
yeah. So Guy's sharing one of his strategies. One I like is to name each part of the body, feet to head externally, then head to groin internally, and say to each part, I love you.
Okay,
That
that's
would,
is that a Buddhist one? I think I've come across that before.
is that a Buddhist one, Guy? Waiting a second. Yes.
I don't know about that for sure. I just remember receiving it at a um, pagan camp once and thought,
Mm.
yes,
Yeah,
good.
it
I
would
like that.
definitely work to evoke gratitude, isn't it? Or just
Yeah,
calm.
yeah. I mean, ultimately, it is about gratitude,
Mm.
appreciation. I just always use that word.
Yeah.
Rather, it's very
Appreciate. Yeah.
subtle. Gratitude normally depends on somebody, kind of, whereas appreciation is you just appreciate the moment. That's it.
Mm. Yeah. Well, you can be grateful for the moment. I mean,
Yeah, but most people,
I'm a
yeah. Well,
foreigner, so
maybe
I
it's just
wouldn't
me
know
then.
the ins and outs of English. All right. Well, is there anything else that we haven't discussed yet that we should be discussing?
Yeah, I don't know. Let me see now,
Anything you would?
because
Okay. Right. So there's my one question that I sometimes forget, but would like to ask everybody. What is one thing that you say every practitioner of hypnotherapy NLP should know or should do? Mm.
okay, that depends. Well, so very simply, right? Every practitioner of NLP and hypnotherapy should know how to use their own tools for themselves. Because when you're working with clients all of the time, when you're continuously doing it and you're dealing with all of their stuff, even if it's content free and you're not necessarily verbalizing it to the same extent, you're still picking up that electromagnetic energy that flows from them. You're still getting it, whether you like it or not. And it's pretty intense work. We have a set of tools that helps us create the life we want, not just self-care, but also actually create the tools that we want. And we get lost in that. We forget that. Self
Um,
hypnosis, therefore, is the answer with a focus on making your life better.
Absolutely. And self-care in general.
Or alternatively, working with another hypnotherapist just on a trade off basis. So you all help each other and improve your own lives.
Well, you don't do that? No, that's
Not
a
to the same extent.
necessity. No,
Um,
I
and
think
I
that's a
think
necessity, really.
so do I, but and a nervous system understanding, I think. And I think, like we were talking beforehand, you can hold a heart in your hand, hopefully not your own. You can hold a brain in your hand. You can hold whatever. You can hold any body part. Where's the mind?
Mm,
The mind's the entire body. The entire body includes the nervous system, which is one of the biggest transporting mechanisms. It's one of the most significant, but so are the cells in our body. It's all of it connected. But when we learn to help people manage their nervous systems and incorporate that in, it also brings us up to speed, because so many people you'll hear talking about nervous systems all the time. And you can actually just apply it in a hypnotic sense. So people become more familiar with the language of hypnotherapists because they understand the nervous system. We can integrate it into that.
Yeah. I love that. Use your tools on yourself. Very often we forget that. Oh, Rebecca, hello, by the way. And Henrietta, hi. Very good advice. Check your own pulse first. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I do it every day, every single day, first thing in the morning.
Good. Wonderful. All right. So, Irish Hypnotherapy Conference.
Yes.
Trauma and identity. We've spoken about the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference already. We're not going to bore you with that again. However, what I've not mentioned yet is that you are having, or did we mention it? The last 2 weekends of March, you are doing a training.
Yeah, so the last 2 weekends in March.
Transformational
It's trauma,
trauma and
F&D, and identity work.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
learning a protocol that helps people to release trauma, work with functional neurological disorder, and reset identity. So it's 3 in 1 pretty much.
So it's basically what we've been talking about here. Even
it's
though
basically
you did,
what we've been talking about, yeah.
I forced John to say this, by the way, because my point is everybody who comes onto the Mind Exploration podcast, in exchange for their time, gets to promote their stuff, whatever they're offering, whatever. So John didn't actually want to mention it. However, he's doing it now with this. And I will be putting the link into the show notes.
Yeah. So,
No,
I mean, look,
not
I've done it a
sales
few.
thing.
It's what I've created is a container of safety where people feel safe in letting go and in resetting. It's, it's 4 days, 2 weekends, 8 7-hour days or whatever they are, for 4 days. Plus, I think it's 4 1-hour Zooms as we go by afterwards. So people get to practice, connect, etc. But I think I sent you the link. I hope I did.
You did. I've got it here. I'll put it into the show notes as I promised. I will do. That's a pretty intense training then.
It is very intensive, yeah. Yes. It is, yeah.
All right.
But it's one of the most rewarding works that you can do. It really is.
It is. Yes, definitely is. Yeah. I mean,
it's one of the most rewarding.
I've known you for a while now. I mean, you're probably one of the favorite people I've had on here because you really feel with your clients.
Thank you.
People can really tell that you love the work you do and you love helping people.
Yeah,
which is also the reason.
Extremely rewarding. And actually, I mean, just even from the functional side of it, the value of a hypnotherapist, someone who has FND, is phenomenal, and the value that it shows the rest who can't help them. We can.
Yeah.
All we need to do is use the tools and be brave enough to do it. That's it.
Well, the work we do, you and I mean, I work with mind body as well, is usually every time doctors shrug and don't know what to do anymore, that's when we kind of step in, or that's when people come to us, really. Which brings me to a point that I forgot. Again, back to the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference. So you've put a mind-body focus on the conference. Is the reason for that because we need? Well, tell me what the reason is for why you've put a mind-body focus on the conference for the past few years or this year.
Because, well, firstly, I work a lot with it. It's an area that's of real interest to me, and if we look at hypnotherapy and we want to expand its impact, then working with mind body is going to be is a massive part. There is so much need out there for people who have tools that can help people create the future they want, create the safety in the body that they need to be able to live their life, create anything that that involves both the body and mind. It's just an expanding area, and it's obviously something I work with. It's something that's really close to me, and I want to encourage people to look at that field, basically, because I think the profession as a whole will benefit hugely from it. Hugely.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
You know, it expands the use of hypnotherapy to everybody, if that's another way to put it. Because trauma is not identity. Trauma is not you don't have to be stuck with that identity. You can change it. So many people are. And, you know, neuroplasticity will teach us two things. One is that we can change when we process the emotion. And the other is that when we keep talking about it over and over and over again, we like deepen the neural pathways. So the old models of talking about it just make it heavier and make it harder to change.
Yeah.
Whereas we have the tools to help it to change. But it also involves the body very much so, because the nervous system is a key part of that. Future pacing is a massive part of that. And it's not only future pacing, because I don't just future pace, I present pace. I bring them to safety in that moment, at every moment.
Yeah. That's what happened to me after a car crash in 2012. I became the car crash.
Yeah.
I suppose that's talking about it. Yeah. So going over and over it in your mind would, yeah, the neural pathways become stronger and stronger. And
Correct.
basically, we need to work a lot more on.
Correct.
Is it memory
It's not just the neural
reconsolidation?
pathways. Yeah, it is. And
Yeah.
it's also about creating the body's safety to feel it.
Yeah. Wonderful. I do feel we need to get past the old contract. Doctors say therapists can have the head so long as we leave the rest of the body to them. Whoa, that sounds very vicious and very Middle Ages. Off with their heads. That's what it sounds like. But yeah, I guess I understand what you mean, Guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Katie says, my same philosophy with medical hypnosis. You are not your diagnosis. Absolutely.
Right. Everything's possible to change. I mean, you know, and I think F&D has shown me that completely. If I didn't believe it before, and I always did, but if I didn't believe it before, I do now after F&D, where nobody can help them. And yet I've had people in here, and I'm not being disrespectful with this, but it's almost like they've been at a rock concert in a seizure, but they can hear every word I say, and now they've all stopped. You know, it's like I've pretty much seen everything. And medically, there's no solution, no hope. But hypnotherapy, there is.
Yeah. Now that's good to know. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go because we've been talking for an hour.
Thank you.
I look forward to catching up on the bits I missed due to a power cut. Oh, God. Thank you both. I've enjoyed it. Power cuts are bad. Yes, the replay will be up, I suppose, tomorrow sometime. And yeah, if you have any questions, again, on the replay on YouTube, let us know. Comment on the YouTube, and don't forget to leave a like, because that would be lovely. I love likes too, and and John as well, probably. So I will be seeing you, John, in Ireland at the latest.
Yes.
Or even in Denmark.
You'll actually see me before that.
Are you coming to Denmark this year? Oh God, I'll be seeing you in 3 weeks' time. Oh, how good is that? There's a Danish Hypnotherapy Conference as well in Copenhagen. Now that we're already promoting everything, why not that one? And that one is from the 6th of March. Yes, 6th to the 8th of March, Danish Hypnotherapy Conference. And yeah, let me put a link to that into the show notes as well. So if you're interested in that, if Copenhagen is closer to you, then see us there, both of us. All right. Have a good evening, everyone. And hope you enjoyed this, and see you in a week or two. All right. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you
John,
very
for joining
much.
us.